Welcome back to Third Rate Content. Got a new series of videos starting today, looking for ghosts. Today's starting video is looking for ghosts, Shrewsbury, Newport Canal, Ditherington to Shrewsbury train station. You might see a ghost, you might have to use your imagination and listen to the history that I'm going to retell for you. I'll see you right there. So this is the site of the Shrewsbury Newport Canal as it came into Shrewsbury. First built in 1793, so that was 228 years ago. You would have seen the narrowboats or the coal tubs with the horses pulling them along this way as we come into Shrewsbury. Just made our way up from the canal there, the site of the canal, and just in front of us in Ditherington is the Coach Inn, formerly known as the Comet. Changed its name about 15-20 years ago, named after the Comet, named after a coach service that ran this way. And Ditherington, where we are now, was called thus, Ditherington, from Dithering town, as prisoners were brought up from Shrewsbury jail or gaol up to the site of their execution, up the road there in Old Heath, where the gallows were sited. So obviously people wanted to take their time coming up on their last walk. So the Coach Inn, you can see it's quite a few, well, about 2 or 3 meters below the road. It looks sunken. It's not actually sunken itself, so the road has been built up. Over the years, this area was always a marshy, slightly flooded area. This area just in front of us here is called Spring Gardens. It's called Spring Gardens because of the abundance of natural springs that spring up in this area, thus taking its name. And the road behind me, Ditherington Road it's called now, back in the day it was called the Causey, after the causeway that they had to build here from the 1500s onwards to allow the road, the northern route into Shrewsbury, to pass by, because it was always getting bogged up. So we just made our way up here. Canal would have just been running just in front of us, just on the other side of the road, as we make our way up to the flax mill. The Shrewsbury Newport Canal, built in 1793. Flax mill built 5 years later in 1797. I don't think there's any coincidence in the fact that the world's first steel structured proto skyscraper, just in the background there, was built 5 years later. I think it wouldn't have been really viable before the canal, because obviously you needed coal for the steam engines that ran the processes within the flax mill, and obviously to export the linen when it was completed. Just opposite the flax mill, later known as the Maltings, and just a street name here, Salton Road, just runs down here into Castlefields. The Salton pub was here before the houses, and it was named Salton Pub because a sultan, happily enough, actually called in there one time. Nobody knows who the sultan was or where he was the sultan of, but that's the story. up to about 10 years ago, the Midland Red bus depot would have just been in front of us here. It's now moved to the far north of Shrewsbury, just up the road there, a couple of miles. Three-sided. It wasn't in the best position for a modern bus depot because of the road traffic, caused a lot of problems. But interestingly, in World War II, it was used as a Spitfire wings factory due to relocation, due to the bombings at the works in Aston or West Bromwich in Birmingham. So the canal would have just run up here in front of the actual main buildings. Made its way up from Spring Gardens, just there in the background, and then further north from where we started out in Dithering Town. Dolphin Inn, pretty old pub, it's just shut because of the lockdown. Sign of the heavy industry that was brought to Shrewsbury after 1793, and again another sign of the canal. So we just made our way from the Dolphin pub just up there down here, and we're actually on the site of the old canal now. So we're just gonna make our way, just retrace the steps of the canal, except we wouldn't be retracing the steps. If it was the canal, we'd be swimming. Just make our way. It does actually smell of gas down here a bit as well. And this area was known as the gas fields before this housing estate was built behind it. You know, you really could imagine the ghosts, if you use your imagination, of the barges, horses and bargees as they make their way on the canal. And you can almost see how the canal, you can almost fill it in with your mind how it would have been there. Just to the right here was a brickworks which was contemporary with the building of the flax mill, and many of its bricks would have probably been used in the flax mill's construction. And then respite for the bargees just coming into view. Might be able to have a bevy, a couple of pots of ale, and then get their horses stabled and get the heads down for the night. As you can see, Wem ales, no more, they don't make that anymore. But here, you can see stabling there as well for the horses, obviously needed to pull the barges, all this old brickwork. Very interesting. Yeah, just to pull the old barge in for the night. Here's the front of the Canal Tavern. The pub itself's been shut for over 10 years. People still live there, but formerly, before the Canal Tavern, it was called the Navigation Inn. Up to around 1837 it was called that, it is believed. Just here on what is now known as Newport Road, which leads all the way through Castlefields, but and it's called Newport Road all the way down to Castleford Gate, formerly known in the past as Gasworks Bank because of the gasworks nearby, obviously. Just here on the corner there was, apparently what I've read, a banana warehouse. Interesting local facts. This site now, Morris Lubricants. See the castle in the background there, Laura's Tower. It's been Morris Lubricants over 100 years. It's formerly an iron works. Here's the boundary stone of Castlefields. made of iron, just here next to the ironworks, or what is now Morris Lubricant. Formerly the plough inn up to about 15 years ago. Speed the Plough, right next door to the formerly the Plough pub. Obviously Morris's didn't put that there, the ironworks did. So we're making our way down Castle Foregate, just from Gasworks Bank, Newport Road, just up there, and we're making our way down towards the sorting office and the town centres for under the bridge over there. Just interesting to think, many years ago, cattle, cows, sheep, etc. would be brought along here through the town and then all the way up to the very north of Shrewsbury where the cattle market once was. And apparently the cattle would cause havoc some days, escaping into side streets, perhaps up there, up behind the Britannia Inn. Always worth just trying to imagine it back in the day. Britannia Inn now shut due to COVID lockdown, but hopefully soon to open again. Rock and Fountain pub here on Castle Foregate, no more. That is a ghost that we were looking for, shut permanently. So we've made our way from Castle Foregate up Howard's Bank, as it's known. Thought I'd just show you this gate. This is where cattle was loaded onto the train and also taken off the train when the railway was built here 50 years after the canal. So we're just here alongside Shrewsbury Prison, now disused, just to the side of the Butter Market. We were just down there a moment ago looking at the gate. The canal came up here and just terminated just behind the Butter Market, which was used as really as a general warehouse and did store, amongst other things, cheese and butter, interestingly. But the canal basin, as it would have been known, would have just been here, just behind the Butter Market, as we made our way up here along the main road of Castle Foregate, just behind the Royal Mail sorting office there. By the Dana footbridge here. Just note, it is not a dedicated footpath. Wonderful Victorian footbridge, actually owned by Network Rail today, but actually erected by GWR back in the day, so that you could obviously get over the railway track, which is just under there. So here is Shrewsbury train station. Just we're taking it just from in front of the prison here on Howard Street. But you can find somewhere, I have seen it, a painting of what was here before the station, which was houses and the original Lancasterian school. Obviously it was probably a compulsory purchase order or whatever they had equivalent of that back when the railways were being built. But obviously there was a bit of a protest about the railway, people losing their houses and being basically forced to sell the house or chucked out. But one of the prominent protesters was a lady called Mary Whitehouse, who was very vehement in her protests. In that she had a lot in common with the 20th century Mary Whitehouse, but the difference was this Mary Whitehouse was a prostitute, and she was known to use foul language to get her point over. Here we have the Lancasterian school. Hasn't been a school for years. This is obviously where it was resited after it was moved, just from by the station, just up there. Resited down here, as you can see. British schools established 1813, enlarged in 1889. Red brick, I'd say the enlargement was Victorian. Stopped being a school in the late 80s and was taken over by the prison, which is just next to it. But shut now. It's used by the prison, is now being turned into apartments. Just here by the Dana footbridge. Can't go down there today, it's shut due to the river being flooded. But if you just go down these steps, I think there's about 60 or 70 maybe. Halfway down on your right hand side was the former club, and there's hardly anything left of it, literally nothing. Maybe it's foundations of the railway club that was sat just right alongside the railway here. Not been there for probably over 100 years. So thanks for joining us for our little ghosts of Shrewsbury Canal and railway. Hope you saw some ghosts, but if you use your imagination, you can always think of them. Thanks for joining us. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, by all means do share, and hit that notifications button if it scratches your itch. I'll see you real soon. Third rate content, signing out.